There's some breaking news on Truth Social.
Yeah.
Ainsley, do you want to read that?
Sure. So Donald Trump just posted this. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran.
President Trump sticking to his deadline that he has given in the wake of Iran not really capitulating to what he's trying to get done here, a ceasefire. And it doesn't look at this point like Iran is backing down in the wake of this 8 p.m. Eastern deadline. Fox News reports with just now, Trump deadline for Iran ticks closer as Islamic Republic rejects temporary ceasefire. Iran threatens, quote, immediate and proportionate reciprocal measures as Trump deadline nears. Let's get to our friend and expert, Senator Jim Talent, former United States Senator from Missouri and Congressman, chairman of the Reagan Institute's Leadership Council. Senator, thanks for being with us today. This is kind of a precarious moment that we're in right now in this conflict with Iran.
Well, yeah, don't know. Yeah, I guess precarious. I mean, in the sense that you always hate to have to do this kind of thing, but our intention is to deal with this threat now. And instead of kicking the can down the road, as we've been doing for 47 years. So we've attacked their center of gravity, their ability to generate and sustain coercive power, destroyed most of their drones and inventory of ballistic missiles, all of them that they haven't buried underground, taken out their defense industrial base, and obviously the Israelis mostly have taken out their leadership, which inhibits their ability to coordinate and integrate the power that they have left. So the next step is how to break their will, and the president is offering them an off-ramp. But if they don't take it, he's going to go after, I think, he's going to go after those parts of the infrastructure that are used for military purposes or to support the IRG, which is a lot of targets because the IRG is very heavily embedded in that whole economy.
Senator, when the president on his True Social post that we listened to Ainsley Earhardt read there at Fox and Friends this morning, when he says a whole civilization will die tonight, I mean, I don't know if you can tell us what he means, but what do you think he means?
He means he's going to do an awful lot of damage that will affect Iran proper because so much of this infrastructure is dual use. And that will inhibit their ability. In other words, he's saying, look, if you hang on and if you are able to hang on, notwithstanding the protests which are coming, then you're not going to have a defense industrial base and you're not going to have the elements of a modern economy because otherwise you would rebuild. And so, in other words, if we can't break your will and you won't change your intention, we have to as utterly destroy your capacity as we can because you have proven that you're an enemy of the United States and indeed of everybody in the whole region, that you're ruthless and scrupulous. And we're dealing with you now. That's what he's saying.
Senator, so just to clarify with that, I appreciate that explanation. Are you saying that President Trump, the commander-in-chief, is going to destroy a civilized way of life? Or I think some people interpret that as if he's just going to indiscriminately bomb. There are a lot of Iranian civilians who are going to be affected by this.
No, he's not going to do that. He's going to go after targets that empower the regime. And I read him as saying that even if those targets also empower the civilian economy, we're going to go after them. Now, obviously, this is hyperbole, the way he describes it. That's the president's style. But everybody knows when he says something like that he means it. I mean, these and other actions that he's taken have had the benefit of restoring the credibility of American power and American threats. So we will see what they do. But the time when they could threaten the whole region and the world with missiles, with nuclear weapons or attempts to get nuclear weapons, they've been terrorizing that region and engaging in acts of war against us for 47 years. And the president is saying it ends one way or another here. So we will see what they do. I mean, the word I get, and I don't, this is not like classified or anything, is that there are elements in the regime that want to make a deal. The president has mentioned that as well. He said that in that tweet. We'll see if they're able to prevail.
Maybe this is the element that he puts out there. If there is division among whomever perceives themselves to be in charge in a position of authority in Iran right now, that this is the way that they handle the business within their own country, so that the more peaceful people, like, they can handle it on their own, and the more peaceful or forward thinking, not the zealotry that has existed before in the clerical way that they have run that country. Maybe this allows them to internally have the right people overcome so that they can be in that official position of authority.
Yes. If you want to overthrow a regime, you have to pressure on the fracture points, and that's clearly what he's doing here. And it's a carrot stick approach. I mean, because we don't know everything that's been offered. Look, they're going to have to agree to our bottom line, which is no more nuclear weapons, no more building these missiles for the purposes of threatening or attacking the region. No more support of the proxies, which you have used like a puppet master to threaten and attack the region and the United States. No more of that. But if they will agree to that, then I think that there'll be a lot of good things in it for them, including rebuilding the country. I mean, these are ideological and religious fanatics that he's dealing with, but it's the same playbook that he's used in Venezuela and that we are using in Cuba. And we will see what they do. We'll see what they decide to do.
Senator Talent, I am seeing, from the people who don't like this president, they don't like anything he does. So this being at war with Iran is an easy way for a lot of those people who are out there criticizing him very frequently and publicly on social media and so on. There's a phrase that's going on it's referred to as taco. Trump always chickens out. And I see this quite a bit, trying to suggest that President Trump is making threats and chickening out on following through, and doing it again and and chickening out again. Is there any substance to that? Because I'm looking at this 8 p.m. deadline thinking, my God, this is a very, very big threat by the United States of America. Scary for a civilian sitting here in the heartland of the country.
Right.
But, as a parent, I'm looking at a kid and parents who are like, we're going to count to 3, 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. President Trump has given the Iranian government and people a lot of opportunities to avoid what could happen this evening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's negotiated a number of times with them. Other presidents have as well. I mean, we've talked in the show before that we've been trying to change again, if you want to stop an aggressor, you have to change their intention, break their will, or destroy their capacity. Well, every president has tried to change their intention. I mean, Obama bribed them. Trump extorted them earlier this year, basically saying that we would do exactly what we have done if you don't go further. We've negotiated. We've raised sanctions, lifted sanctions. We've done all those things. It doesn't work with these people. I mean, that's just an ineluctable fact. I mean, it doesn't work. And so we're seeing now whether extreme pressure will work with them. Now, as far as what Trump's critics say,
is he a chicken? Is Trump a chicken?
Well, I mean, ask the Iranian Navy if he's a chicken. I mean, if he does this, which I think if they don't agree, he's going to do something, then they'll call him a warmonger. So, in other words, what they don't recognize is that there is a policy behind this. There is a strategic objective. The means were gathered in order to carry out that objective, and we've been carrying it out. We're now close, I guess, what are we now? In the 6th week, I think, of the war. And he said at the beginning, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. We've just about exhausted the target list. There is a consistent policy here in Venezuela, in Cuba, a policy towards China. Now, in a sense, I don't blame the critics because it's been so long. I wrote about this, Annie, in 2013, that we never really had a strategy after the end of the Cold War. Long article, closest I'll ever come to writing a book for AEI and for Heritage. And I said, one of the big problems we have is a lack of clarity about what it is we're trying to achieve in the world. Well, if you read the national security strategy, it's pretty clear what we want to achieve in the world and what we want to achieve around the world, and he's carrying that out now. So they don't recognize it, they don't understand it, and so they criticize him first in one way and then in another. That's not going to stop Trump, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. Senator Talent, we asked our listeners earlier in the show, said that you were going to be on, and we asked them if they had any questions that they could text them to us. Ryan's got one that kind of fits into, you're talking about the Cold War and then having a plan for what's next. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and hit us with the text line question?
Senator Talent, this is asking if we do go forward with this bombing tonight, bomb them into the Stone Age is what they said. What comes next? What do we do? Do we help? Do we reconstruct? Or do we let them rebuild their own civilization?
Well, if the regime either collapses or changes, it's a very good question. Because up to this point in the campaign, it's been very clear what we wanted to do and why. We've been destroying their offensive capability and also their capability to regenerate that capability. At this point now, we have a number of different options. I think Heggs has said it the other day. He says there's 15 different things we can do. Because when you win a war, you have a whole lot of different options. Now, if the regime collapses, or if they decide to play ball with them, if there's regime fracture and a new group decides to play ball with us, then I think there'll be very good things in store for Iran. Knowing Donald Trump, he's going to try and make other countries pay for it. In other words, I don't see some massive Marshall Plan for the United States for Iran, but there will be investment in Iran. There will be help in getting their economy back on their feet. And Iran is the kind of country with the kind of history that could very quickly become an important ally and a leader in moving that whole region towards peace, which will then enable us, and I think this is one of our objectives here, to avoid having to station so many troops there. I mean, Iran's the big reason why we have as big a footprint as we do militarily in the region. So I think the future the president's aiming for is a region that is peaceful, a peace that is the foundation of which is a partnership between Israel, the Gulf states, Egypt, Jordan, those states, that is policed where necessary by the Israelis, and one where the United States will have a very profitable economic relationship. You notice he laid the basis for that in his trip last spring, about a year ago, to Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states, where he secured a bunch of investment from them. That's ultimately, I think, what he's driving at. But he's got to get this regime out of the way first.
Senator Talent, I mean, President Trump has taken a very definitive, aggressive policy position with Iran from the time he came in. He has negotiated with them quite a lot. He's attempted to, I should say, negotiate with them quite a lot. Is this the only way? Did he take... Because it seems like everybody else is always trying to negotiate in some certain kind of way, and then it seems like what Iran does is they just stall. Everything is a stall for the next time that somebody comes through. I mean, is it either you put up with Iran's stalling and inability to have a rational negotiation with you, or you do what President Trump is doing right now? Yeah.
I think you've summed it up. I mean, the Israelis will tell you that the Iranians have never won a war or lost in negotiations. So they think that they can spin this out, they can get us to back off. And given the presidents they've dealt with in the past, I can understand why they believe that. It's not going to work with President Trump. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned in the show, Annie, about a couple months ago, I went back and reread The Art of the Deal. Mm-hmm. And I took notes on it. Okay, this guy knows how to negotiate. One of the things he says, you always maximize your leverage. You always minimize the risk. People who think he takes a lot of risks. No, he says, in the book, he says, I believe in the power of negative thinking. If you can figure out what the worst is and you can take that, then you're in good shape. I think he's done that. He saw the opportunity here because Iran is very weak relative to the past because of the last 2.5 years of war, and because he's seen how strong the Israelis are. And then he also saw the protests, so he knows that the regime is weak at home. He knows this is a period of their maximum weakness, and if he pushes hard enough, they may break. And if they don't break, they're going to be essentially powerless, which is so he gets either the big win or he gets the win of defanging them, so the region can move forward. And you notice the sort of the side benefits already that the other powers in the region now are completely with us and openly with us. The Chinese have lost an ally. The Russians have lost an ally. The Chinese have seen that their equipment and the Russian equipment doesn't work, which is a really good deterrent to any adventurism in the Indo-Pacific. We've lost some guys, which is terrible. We've lost a little equipment, but the gain to the country already is very great. And if they will back away from this idea that, suicidal instincts are what's going to renew Islam. That's another thing here, too, is that there's a growing sense among Islamic nations that this radicalism, which promised a renewal of Islam, is a spent force. And because they're watching what's happening. So a lot of good things, I think, will come from this, but this is hard. We're not a warlike people. Trump is a builder. He doesn't like to blow anything up. I really believe that. Look how he's trying to rebuild Gaza. But this is necessary. And I'll tell you, if we'd had a stronger policy, if we'd really strictly enforced the sanctions and done everything else we could do over the years, and only Trump really enforced them, this might not be necessary, but it is now, I think.
I have a joint question here for you to wrap this up. The first one is about NATO, and I just kind of want to throw the word NATO out there for you to speak on that the way you see it, because I know that is a big question about their participation in and what happens with NATO going forward. And then finally, to wrap it up, do you think that we're dropping bombs at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight?
On the last question, I think yes, but I would say it's 60-40. So I wouldn't be shocked if that doesn't happen. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Some of it I've heard from people, but I can't confirm any of it. On the first question on NATO, this war has had a very clarifying effect. In other words, we've seen who's an ally and who isn't. And I can tell you this, it is really affecting that part of the national security community, if I can call it that, in Washington, that has been very strongly supportive of NATO in the past. There's a lady that I worked with, wonderful lady named Danielle Pletka. She ran the national security section of AEI when I was there, and Danny is a big supporter of NATO and alliances, as am I. I don't want us to be alone in the world. And she wrote a really interesting article for her Substack where she went through how the Western Europeans have responded to this. And she basically said, what am I, as a defender of NATO, supposed to say now? They won't even let us use the bases. And by the way, Annie, this tells you why the president's so interested in getting some sovereignty in Greenland. Everybody says, you don't need sovereignty over your bases in Greenland because you can use them whenever you want to use them. Really?
And you
maybe not.
Yeah, you said you don't want to be alone in the world, but we're funding a lot of NATO, and it feels pretty alone in the world, and we're in it.
Well, we're not alone in the world. Our Asian alliances are stronger than ever. We have solidified a partnership with virtually everybody in the Middle East, except Iran. There are a couple of exceptions. So the Qataris even have come closer to us now. And look, these are not just countries with sand and oil anymore. You know what's happening in the UAE. You know what Dubai looks like. Yeah. These countries want to modernize, and they are modernizing. And they can be very effective partners going forward. We're picking up supporters in Latin America. What we are seeing now is, and people who are listening should be very proud. America, I've written 100 times, we have enormous reservoirs of power. We can't run the world. But when we use our power effectively, intelligently, and in a way people understand, we influence things. That's how we won the Cold War. So I think, I am daring to hope that a new day in the Middle East may be coming. But you're right. Every one of these junctures, we got to pray, we got to hope, and see what happens.
Pray and hope. That is a really great way to end this conversation with you. Senator Talent, always a pleasure to have you on. It always gives me a little bit of peace when I know you're on the schedule, because I don't have to. I don't pretend I know. I just have a lot of questions, and you always have wonderful contextual answers for them. So we appreciate you.
Annie, you have the gift of encouragement. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. All right, we'll talk to you again soon on the other side. Take care. Senator Jim Talent, former United States Senator from Missouri, Congressman as well, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Anything there, Ryan, like really jump out at you that he said? I mean, that he has a calming effect for me. To go from our day-to-day existence where for a lot of people in America right now, whatever is going on in Iran is about gas in their car. That's where it impacts them. If gas goes up, they don't like it. If gas goes down, or if gas didn't